It's the Las Vegas Sports Line, presented by CG Technology Sportsbook.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Presented by WagerTalk.com.
And here we go. It's the Thursday edition of the Las Vegas Sports Line. CG Sportsbook's on board today. That means Jason Simbal coming up in just a little bit. We'll take you behind the counter with vital info that every sports bettor should have at their disposal. Jason will provide all that on the big football games over the weekend. Also, some of the higher volume college basketball matchups tonight, NBA as well. Ralph Michaels is here from Wager Talk. All right, Platinum behind the console. I'm Dave Cokin, and we are glad to have you with us. Watched the Rebels last night, and what looked like a very likely loss did turn into an improbable win as the Rebels get the winning basket with 1.2 seconds remaining on a defensive interference call. Basket interference on Colorado State. But whatever joy came out of that win, Ralph, it has to be tempered by the fact that the Rebels played very poorly again and were kind of fortunate to get out with a victory.
Well, Dave, we talked about it last week in the Mountain West. When you have Colorado State and San Jose State, those are teams you better control and beat. And it's bothersome that they've lost that. And you know, as we said, they've only played one other road game this year, and that was Hawaii. So I see this team in trouble when they go out on the Mountain West Road coming up.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. And, you know, and one other thing, by the way, not a lot of butts in the seats last night. It was quiet down at the Thomas and Mack. The Rebels, from a point spread standpoint, did not ever come close to covering the spread in the game. They trailed most of the way by some pretty good margins, and they were laying 9.5 at the close, 8 when it opened. They only won by 2, so UNLV backers, which included myself, got burned last night. Maybe a lesson learned in the process. Let's quickly talk about the speculation that's going on right now regarding the coaching situation. Look, it's out there, okay? This is not just some random rumor. The information I've gotten is that there's at least been conversations. Okay, I don't know anything beyond that. It's secondhand info, but it comes from some good sources. Is that there's been conversation between at least someone connected with UNLV, and I have no idea who it might be, and Rick Pitino. Pitino is available. I don't think he's going to step right into a high-profile job coming out of what took place at Kentucky. Or Louisville, I should say. And I know there's a percentage who are probably going to say, oh, no, we can't take on that kind of trouble. That kind of baggage. I'm on the other side. If there's a possibility of landing Rick Pitino, you just do it. This program, man, this is what I put in the blog last night. So I'm basically rehashing my own stuff. What I said was that, and this is the reality of the situation now. The Golden Knights have taken over the top spot in the city. They're page 1. UFC is always going to be page 1 material in this city. This is headquarters for UFC. They have so many of their biggest cards here. It is incredibly popular with the local fan base. And the Raiders are coming. And the National Football League is always front page. UNLV is kind of heading to page 2. You got to make a splash if you want to stem that tide, and it's a negative tide. And I'm not casting aspersions here on Marvin Menzies as a coach. You can have your own opinion on that, but I will tell you this. He doesn't have any pizzazz, and this is a pizzazz town. Rick Pitino has pizzazz.
You know, and it also doesn't help that the team up north is getting all national publicity, you know, and you've got a team now that, you know, can lose the Mountain West tournament and still make the tournament and be relevant in, you know, a Sweet 16 type team. So, you know, all those in-state people that thought about potentially coming to UNLV was the better school to go to in basketball. Now they lose those. So they certainly do need something to push them well over the hump. Yeah. It can't just be an upgrade. It has to be an attention getter across the country. Absolutely. So I agree with you from that standpoint.
Yeah, we're national news again.
Yeah.
If Pitino is the head coach, and, I don't know.
Some good, some bad, but at least you're on the page again.
No news is good news is not true. Okay, that's phony. That's one of those old axioms that does not ring true. No news is bad news. You want to be in the news if you're a sports franchise. And UNLV is a franchise, okay? Let's make no mistake about that. They were the franchise in this city for a long, long time. They aren't anymore. I want to see, and this isn't a rip on the program. I want UNLV to be relevant. It's just not right now, okay? There's just no other way to look at it. They are strictly a mid-level, mid-major program at this point, and that's a fact, okay? You either got to change it or just go with the flow and stay there and be Missouri State for the next 20 years. No offense meant to Missouri State, but that's what we are right now.
Going into an arena that has 2,000 people is depressing.
Yep.
It's like the Temple football days. You know, it's depressing to watch a game there because of that. So, again, we'll see what statement they make.
Lakers losers at home last night to the Thunder, despite the fact, and I think he still had a triple-double, but Westbrook 3 for 20. But Paul George went off, despite the fact they booed him every time he got the basketball. The LeBron loss is starting to show a little bit. Lakers not playing as well right now, and they need to get him back on the floor as soon as possible. Because, let's call it straight, I mean, the Western Conference is jammed. And you don't want to start losing a bunch of games so that you have to start making up ground later on.
Well, you know, I'm going to relate this back to the Cleveland days. Again, being a Cavs fan when LeBron got hurt, it actually helped the team when LeBron got back because there were some people that became go-to scorers, someone else in the fourth quarter that you can count on. So we'll see if that happens. It just can't happen too long for the team to fall too far behind.
All right, let's check out some of tonight's action. We've rehashed enough of yesterday's stuff. Let's go ahead and check out the Thursday. MJ Christensen 4-4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
And, you know, just because the holidays are done doesn't mean the great sales are done at MJ Christensen. Find out what I mean. Head over to the store at Boca Park. It's their one and only location. Family-owned business. Been around the Valley for 3/4 of a century. Going back to the good old days in Las Vegas. MJ Christensen, bigger and better than ever at Boca Park. Website mjchristensen.com. Check out their Facebook page as well for exclusive specials. We go to the NBA first. The San Antonio Spurs at home tonight to the Toronto Raptors. Ralph, what do we got here?
The return of Kawhi.
Yes.
You know, we'll see what happens. Obviously, Kawhi put up 45 in his last game against Utah. Lowry probably not going to play tonight for Toronto, so it's tough to win on the road without him. San Antonio 14-6 ATS at home. They are well rested. Their last game was Boston New Year's Eve. I actually like the Spurs here to. I think the crowd will be all over Kawhi. It'll be tough for him to get his points. And with if Lowry doesn't play, I think clearly the Spurs are the team here.
Danny Green also going back to San Antonio for the first time since the deal. Yeah. And he's a guy who can contribute. No question about that. Should be a good ball game tonight. College ranks, Big Ten, Iowa taking on Purdue. These two have had some wild games over the past few years, a couple of which were games which Purdue had a big lead and let it get away. This is a big test for Iowa. Let's see what they can do on the road against the Boilermakers, who are not quite the same level of team they've been the past couple of years, but can still be a factor in the Big Ten race.
You know, Iowa, one of those teams, 11-2, top 25, but those two losses were in their first two Big Ten games against Wisconsin and Michigan State. You know, Carson Edwards, 26 points per game, one of the best players. The difference with Purdue this year, Ryan Klein making a lot of three-pointers stretching the field. It'll be an emotional game in Purdue with the passing of Tyler Trent.
Yeah.
I think the Boilermakers really may come out big in this game. I like them especially in the first half with that emotion.
I think that's a really good point, and that might be a wager worth going after. Purdue first half. They're going to be a very fired-up basketball team tonight. Illinois and Indiana will have at it. And the Hoosiers a good-sized favorite in this game. They are missing one player tonight. Illinois is not making the progress as quickly as some thought they would under Coach Underwood.
Including me. You know, having the five-star guard recruit plus their guards, I thought their guard play would be better. They're 4-9. They lost New Year's Eve to Florida Atlantic in overtime. I think it's a tough spot for them. They haven't quite turned it around. Indiana 9-0 at home.
And we'll be watching this one. It's a late game, so it doesn't fit the 4-4 classification. But I think it's worth talking about. Stanford and UCLA matching up tonight. First game for the Bruins without Steve Alford on the sidelines. I think this is going to be a plus for UCLA immediately, and I'm not suggesting that Murray Bartow is the long-term answer. as the coach. But I think there was a disconnect between Alford and the players. I'm not saying they didn't like him. I don't know anything about that. But they weren't, let's just say they weren't doing what you expected them to do. I thought the team was fundamentally badly flawed. And that, to me, is oftentimes a case of the team just tuning out the coach. So this wasn't, to me, some rash decision by the Bruins. I think it was coming after last year and the poor start coupled by the awful performance against Liberty. That just expedited
three
matters.
or four losses. This is a 22-win team that has that same talent back. And, the interesting thing about Bartow, he was in the same spot at USF. USF, on January 1st, he became the interim at USF, took over. So he's been in the situation. He knows what to do. This is his first year with the program. Stanford, as young as it gets. 5 games already this year. They started 5 underclassmen, 3 sophomore and 2 frosh. You want to talk about a young team, that's the Stanford Cardinal.
Let's see if the UCLA comes out fired up tonight. I wonder what the market's doing with this game as well. We'll find out about that. And a lot of football as well as we bring in Jason Simbal from CG Sportsbooks. Hi, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you?
Very good. Happy New Year to you. Hope it was a happy and healthy one. Did you do anything special for the holiday?
No, just what I did was enjoy a tremendous backdoor cover by Washington and a big upset of Georgia.
Yeah, that was, we talked about this yesterday. That was a monster flip for just about every book in town, going from 6 figures one way to 6 figures the other way.
Huge. In fact, the biggest bet that we took of the entire bowl season, including the playoff games, was on Ohio State -7. So all the money was on 6.5 or 7. So that was especially big for us.
Well, we know there'll be high volume this weekend, plenty of it, because we've got 4 wildcard weekend games in the NFL, plus the national title game in college football on Monday. So let's look at those first and find out what's going on behind the counter. And we'll begin with the Colts and Texans.
Yeah, this one is actually, of the 4 games, of the 4 NFL playoff games, this is the most evenly bet. The ticket count is pretty even, slightly in favor of the Colts, like just over 50% of the bets are on the Colts. The money is so even on this one, such good two-way action, that we actually are looking at a black number on both teams, which is good for us. So really good action on this one both ways. On the money line, they are betting the Colts a little bit more. They're at plus 105 there. So keep an eye out on that. I wouldn't be surprised if you end up having to move the spread because the money line keeps getting bet by the Colts. But of the 4 games, this one is the most evenly bet for sure.
Is this also a game? Do you have any idea of where the public will stand on this game come Saturday?
I actually think the public's going to be on the Colts, and the reason I say that is because I'm looking at how many times the Colts have been put in a parlay as compared to the Texans, and it's quite a bit more. So even though the spread ticket count is even, the Colts have been in a lot more parlays than the Texans, and as we know, the public loves parlays.
We know the Cowboys opened 2 or 2.5, and that line has come down. How much of that early money was sharp money on the Seahawks, or were people just betting against the Cowboys as a home favorite?
Well, we took one decent-sized bet on Seattle plus 2.5. It was from a pretty sharp player. He ended up betting it for our limit 2 times. He took the 2.5 2 times with the Seahawks, which is why we ended up moving it from 2.5 to 2. That happened right when the line first came out. So, after that, though, it's actually been way more action on the Seahawks. And interestingly enough, the Seahawks are the public side in this one. And that's part of the reason why this line's come down a bit. The Cowboys are a 2-point favorite now, but the ticket count is way lopsided. I was surprised at how lopsided it is. To be honest with you, over 2 times more bets are on Seattle on this one.
Wow.
And again, they're betting Seattle money line compared to the Cowboys. So I was a bit surprised by that, but the public actually likes Seattle.
I wonder if that has to do with the public perception, and I don't disagree with this, that you're talking about Pete Carroll, who's one of the most respected coaches in the NFL, a guy most observers think is a really good football coach. And despite the fact that I think they've made the playoffs 3 out of 4 years now, Jason Garrett does not enjoy that opinion as far as the public's perspective of him goes. And I'm wondering how much of that is just Carroll versus Garrett.
I think it's the combination of the 2 things. It's exactly what you said combined with the QBs. So do you want Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, or do you want Jason Garrett and Dak Prescott? And I think people are taking the Seahawks side of that one. The one thing I do want to mention in terms of sharp bets on this game is the total. It's at 43 now, but it got there because of sharp bets on the over. They bet over 41.5 and over 42.5.
The Sunday games, to me, are more intriguing from a betting standpoint. I don't know that I have a decent opinion on either game, but I'm kind of fascinated by the mechanics of the betting in this one. Let's see what you think. I